For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of God in Narayan, unto Narayan, Rishi, the Supreme Human Being, unto His Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva Bhagavad. Shingatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana, Viryantastoya Bhadrani, Vimoti Suritsatam, Shri Krishna, the personality of God, who is the Paramahama, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhakti Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So, we have a reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 14, The Disappearance of Lord Krishna, and 40, text 40.
Text number 40.
40. For a second, I thought you were going to say, no, 41. So I was like, oh no. That's very nice. But who knows? Who trusts you?
We do every verse 3 times.
We do every verse 3 times. Could probably do 3 different ways too. Okay, Kachin. Nabi Hato. Bhavai. Kachin Nabi Hato Bhavai. Shabdadibir Amangalai Shabdadibir Amangalai Datam Uktam Artibhya Nadatam Uktam Artibhya Ashaya Yat Pratishrutam Ashaya Pratishrutam Kaschinnabi Hato Bhavai Shabdadibir Amangalai Nadatam Uttam Artibhya Ashaya Yat Pratishrutam Kaschinnabi Hato Bhavai Shabdadibir Amangalai Nadatam Uttam Artibhya Ashaya Yat Pratishrutam I think I'm supposed to do one more time. Is that 2 or 3? Yes. Kachinnabi Hato Bhavai Shabdadibir Amangalai Nadatam Uttam Artibhya Ashaya Yat Pratishrutam
Kachinnabi Hato Bhavai Sabdadibir Amangalai Nadatam Uttam Artibhya Asaya Yat Pratishrutam
Kachinabhihato Bhavai
Kachinabhihato Bhavai
Shabdadibhiramangalai
Shabdadibhiramangalai
Nadatam Tamartibhya
Nadatam Tamartibhya
Ashrayayat Pratishrutam
Asayayat Pratishrutam
Kachinabhihato bhavai
Kachinabhihato Bhavai
Shabdadibhiramangalai
Shabdadibhiramangalai
Nadatamuktamartibhya
Nadatamuktamartibhya
Ashayayat Pratishrutam
Asayayat Pratishrutam
Kachinabhihato bhavai
Kachinabhihato Bhavai Sadadibhiramangalai Nadatam Tamartibhya Asayayat Pratishrutam.
Word beginnings. Kashit.
Kashit.
Whether.
Na.
Could not. Abhihataha. Addressed by. Abhavai. Unfriendly. Shabda adibi. By sounds. Amangalai. Inauspicious. Na. Did not. Datam. Given charity. Uktam. Is said. Artibhyaha. Unto one who asked. Ashaya. With hope. Yet. What? Pratishrutam. Promised to be paid. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Read the whole translation, then we'll do parts. Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give in charity to one who asked? Or could you not keep your promise to someone? So please repeat. Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give in charity to one who asked? Or could you not keep your promise to someone? Perfect. A kshatriya or a rich man is sometimes visited by persons who are in need of money. When they are asked for a donation, it is the duty of the possessor of wealth to give in charity in consideration of the person, place, and time. If a kshatriya or a rich man fails to comply with this obligation, he must be very sorry for this discrepancy. Similarly, one should not fail to keep his promise to give in charity. These discrepancies are sometimes causes of despondency, and thus failing, a person becomes subjected to criticism, which might also be the cause of Arjuna's plight. Was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge, and offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, there's actually 4 questions, and there's 4 points. One, if someone addresses you with unfriendly words or threatens you, these things are actually, we're talking about bodily luster, and Arjuna doesn't have any right now. So why? And so if someone speaks with unkind words, that does something. The bodily luster kind of goes away. Unfriendly words or threats. Threats are very disturbing. And in the purport, Prabhupada has connected that with the next 2 parts. Could you not give in charity, or did you break your promise to give something? So then you might get unfriendly words or threats or something. You might get, so it may be connected there. So this is mostly seems to be about giving. And when it's the nature of the soul to give, because eternally in Krishna service and in relation to Krishna, the souls are serving Krishna. In other words, giving to Krishna. And then there's loving exchanges. And all souls are devotees, ultimately. So loving exchanges of giving appropriate gifts and giving counsel and giving listening, these things, giving prasadam, are givingness things, And we give to other souls and we give to Krishna. And these things make us, well, something is effulgent. I think bodily luster is the same thing as effulgence. And devotees are effulgent when they're engaged in devotional service or in serving one another. There's an effulgence. And when somehow there's some block, there's not some effulgence. You can sort of tell. You can sort of tell if somebody's away, if somebody's down, if somebody's closed off or something. You can sort of tell, and I can tell in myself too. I know whether my face is glowing or not. I mean, everybody knows, Everybody can tell in themselves. And it's about giving. So it's about Sanatana Dharma. Our eternal Dharma is to give and to serve. So the soul, in any condition, is meant to give. It's not very happy to give thinking you're keeping, thinking you're doing for yourself in this illusion, in this Maya illusion where we serve our own senses, but our senses are made of Krishna's energy, not ours. They're made of Krishna, this body is made of Krishna's energy, and we just get to inhabit it, but we think selfishly, so we're serving it, so there isn't going to be much effulgence because the attitude isn't one of giving to Krishna, isn't one of giving. But the soul can't escape. There's some service anyway. The soul can't escape this eternal Dharma. The soul is going to serve Krishna's energy and think selfishly, or the soul is going to serve Krishna and the devotees of Krishna. And everybody's a devotee of Krishna, so even if one doesn't have knowledge, there's that sequence in chapter 12 of the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, I don't memorize verses, they don't stick. So I just find them.
Brain time.
Huh?
You need brain time.
That's what I need. That's what I should have started that when I was like 10. Okay. 12, starting 8. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus will you live in me always without a doubt. But then, he says, my dear Arjuna, a winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. Okay, but what if you can't? If you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all the results of your work and try to be self-situated. Okay, then he kind of loops back up again. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. For by such renunciation, one can attain peace of mind. And then, one who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. So the point I'm trying to make is, somehow or other, Krishna says give. Somehow or other. And we can't, and there are people who don't know about Krishna, lots and lots of people who don't know about Krishna, or lots of people who don't understand and they think their religion is, it's everything to them. Like say in this country, Christians, or they give in charity. Their idea of charity is give to the poor. And they don't really have a concept as developed of what we have about this giving and charity. But they would try to give to the poor. And the Christians who are doing that kind of thing, who are trying to give, are going to be more effulgent. Because it's natural to the soul to give. And if you can't give in the highest consciousness and the highest knowledge, well, then give some other way but give, Krishna is saying. It's about giving. And so Arjuna is having no bodily luster, and Yudhisthira is asking him these questions. These are valid questions. He's hoping, Yudhisthira of course is hoping that he can find a lesser answer than that Krishna left. So, I blew it and I feel so bad. I didn't give to somebody and now I'm all down on myself. Krishna's still here. No, that's not going to be what he finds out. But that's what he's kind of hoping for, because he doesn't want Krishna to be gone. When Krishna's here to his devotees, that's simultaneous with that giving spirit, because they're doing service to Krishna. And when Krishna leaves, it's like, how will I serve Krishna? That's how. And when when Krishna left Vrindavan and the gopis, they were confused for a while. They were like all confused and torn up and crying, but in a confused, hurt way. Why is this happening? And so Krishna sent Uddhava with a message, and Uddhava told the gopis that Krishna says, "I've never left you. I'm still with you." And he explained, I didn't look this up, but he explained something about how this is for you to meditate on me and increase your love for me. I'm always with you, I'm always here. This separation increases your love for me. Essentially is what he said. And it's like, superficially, we with our materialistic conditioning might think, yeah, that's supposed to make me feel better. It's like, I am always with you. Yeah, right. That's our materialistic conditioning. And somebody might say that, I'm always with you, and actually they're gone. But Krishna is really always with the gopis, and they understood his message, and they drew strength from it. They drew peace and strength from it. And after that, they cried and suffered in separation, but it was an ecstasy, and they knew what they were doing. They understood. They dedicated themselves to this way of loving Krishna in separation. So he had this understanding. It's always giving. They thought at first, I guess my point is that they thought at first we always served Krishna, now what? He's gone. And so what do? We can't have this service. But then Krishna told them that they did still have this service. And so this soul, to be happy, the soul has to be giving service. So Arjuna is in the first stage of Krishna has left, now what? It's like with the gopis, now what? So he said, no luster or anything. And it's going to come up that he starts remembering Krishna's instructions and gets strength from that. And he begins to be centered. So we are serving in separation. We're supposed to cultivate that feeling of that we miss Krishna and we're serving in separation. And this increases our love for Krishna. So, but I guess my point is always serving. And the luster in the face, the effulgence comes from this giving. Even if a non-believer, even if, say, somebody is a decent person, but by some misfortune they can't accept that God exists, but they do good for people, will not they look kind of bright-faced if they're doing good for people? It's still the same. They're just covered up. They don't know that they're doing good for others, and it's the soul's nature to do that. And the soul shines out through the body when the soul is doing according to its nature. If something blocks it, or if some ignorance of the opportunity of service and separation, or ignorance of the opportunity of the knowledge of Krishna or something, or just some bad feeling, like if you failed and you're down on yourself, or other people are down on you and you know you failed to do something, these things take away a negative attitude. These things all like cover that natural effulgence of the soul. So let's see, that might be everything. Let's see. Any other points? I have a feeling this might be a short class. So we can talk about the duty of a wealthy person or kshatriya. There's always some confusion because to the Christian, to our past, the word charity means give to the poor. And in fact, there are a lot of stories about people with enough self-dignity that they won't receive charity because they just take care of themselves and they have some self-respect, and they won't receive this charity for the poor. And it's like pity, and so they don't accept it. And yet, but we have the word charity here, and it seems to mean something else. It has a religious meaning a little bit above and beyond, that's following Jesus, that Jesus gives to the poor, so you should give to the poor. That kind of labels poor as poor. So for some people that's not good, but this is always something, I don't know, maybe we can open up for discussion in a minute about the meaning of charity, but it's, you give charity to the right person, and it's an uplifting spiritual thing. Like you give charity to a person who is a Brahmin who's serving humanity, who's spiritually serving humanity, and also, but they're also supposed to give to the poor. Like here it says that you give, a rich man. Now somebody who has something has a duty to give to somebody who asks, who doesn't have anything. So we are kind of, I would say, confused about this in modern times, because sometimes there's a resentfulness for the poor, sometimes there's a judgment against them, and true, there are always some poor who would want to take advantage and say, well, I can always just ask for money. So it's all like kind of confused in a bad way. But a person who has money has a duty to give to those who ask, who need money. And that was confusing too. When the one time I went to India, there were so many, of course, beggars. And I just felt confused. Sometimes I gave them something, sometimes I just wanted to run away. Because it's money, it's just material. So am I supposed to just give them money, or am I not supposed to give them money? It's very confusing. So I would say we have, as a movement, we need to work on a deeper understanding that satisfies and won't leave us confused when a beggar shows up. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, I understand, told his householders to give to the beggars. I don't know why we don't want to give. We think, well, maybe this is giving in the mode of ignorance. It's not giving to a worthy person. That's the reason we have this doubt. So, but Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, give to the beggars. It keeps your heart soft. Because you have some compassion for people in need. So it keeps your own heart soft. So, that's, and if your heart is soft and you're giving, then there's no block to that giving spirit, and there's no block to your bodily luster or your effulgence. You're doing your sanatana dharma, you're giving, and then you'll be happy. So we need to understand this more deeply, because giving to an unworthy person and everything, that would be mode of ignorance, and that would not be good. So we need a deep understanding, and I think I'm going to open up with the invitation to that topic. I think I'm done talking. Yeah.
It would be interesting, you didn't touch on it just now, but it would be interesting to read from Bhagavad Gita about the three, just to refresh everyone's mind, since you're talking about charity, about the three modes of giving and charity.
While I'm looking for it, I saw Krishna's hand go up almost at the same time. Krishna?
Well, when you're talking about giving and charity, what comes to my mind is sometimes when I was going on Harinam, we'd see a lot of those kind of people on the side of the road or something like that. And what I found that Mahaprabhu would do, he would give them prasad as much as possible, or something. But in terms of money, we have to be careful, I would think, because they could be utilizing it in buying things that are not suitable for that soul in that body, or things that could be more detrimental than good. Those are the two things I was thinking when you were talking. The other thing was how these are symptoms of love shared by one devotee to another, which comes from, I think, connect and instruction, giving gifts and charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing my mind, talking confidentially about the topics of Krishna, and offering prasad and accepting prasad. That's a nice
But
thing to do. Okay.
what about the Kshatriya or the rich man who has money, and somebody comes in need of money? He's supposed to give. It says in this verse, he's supposed to give. And at the same time, it said, we're not supposed to give to an unworthy person in an unworthy time. So how do you resolve all that? And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, give to them, because they will keep your heart soft. So we have like a contradiction of instructions here, and you know what, I can't find about you. You want to look for me and
I just ran out of power.
okay.
You have yours?
Anybody wants to find it? You got it?
Well, no, Monty, I was just going to point out what it says in the verse. It's the duty of the possessor of wealth to give in charity in consideration of the person, place, and time.
What verse
There's
is
no
it?
contradiction here. It's just, according to the person, place, and the time they should give. So it's not that they should give in every
Yeah.
situation.
Or maybe give appropriately according. Because if somebody is in the mode of ignorance but suffering, would you, if you have money, would you just let them suffer because they're in the mode of ignorance? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada, at the same point that Jesse was making there, that my mind and the example was when Srila Prabhupada was, his son came to him, and Prabhupada had given him some money to start, get going in a little book business or something. He came, Prabhupada said, you give him this certain amount, and if he wastes it or he doesn't do it, then don't give him any more.
Right.
It's like, so you learn from that example that Prabhupada's like he's, Jesse's saying, and you're saying also, that we discriminate according to the benefit for the soul. So we know the highest benefit is to give to the Brahmins, the Vaishnava Brahmin, because they're going to use it to spread Krishna consciousness. If you give it to the local church, they might get some clothes or some barbecue or something, So it's kind of like, how far do I want to take that soul down? So that's the whole point of it is we're trying to benefit someone, basically.
On the subject of the beggars, the same question came up in Mayapur when we were there, and they said that give them the holy name because it's India. Just say, okay, say Hare Krishna, and generally they do say Hare Krishna because now they have they've caught on to it, and then carry some prasadam all the time. So when they beg, you give them an orange or you give them some Mahaprasadam or something like that, but don't give money because that money they might drink, or they might do something which is not good for them. So yes, we have to give to the beggars, but give in such a way that, as which Prabhu said, that they are truly benefited. That's one thing I wanted to mention. And then second thing I wanted to say that people in the name of, you said that people who are doing good, they have an effulgence and so on. This can be really, difficult in the sense that they might really think they're doing good. I have started a soup kitchen. But what are you feeding the people with? And how much you're going to be implicated for offering unmentionables to people, So this category of doing good, Srila Prabhupada addresses this, doing good. But first you must know what is good. So people come up with their own ideas. Be good, do good, think good, this, that. That's all nonsense. The only good is following the instruction of the spiritual master and following the path or doing actions, thinking things, speaking things that are pleasing to the Lord. But people don't know that. So they come up with their own ideas for doing good.
No, it's true. How do you
Just a couple of things that I recall my spiritual master said years ago. So many of the ladies were collecting on Bourbon Street and asked him about giving to people. And he said, when you give to someone, they become indebted to you, and that karmically you would have to come back as that person's son to relieve the karmic debt. So giving to somebody on Bourbon Street probably isn't a good idea. But he also said that Prabhupada used to carry a purse with small coins, and in the dam, he would give, Prabhupada would give to the beggars but you see, here's where you have to be discriminating, because obviously there would be a difference in consciousness between somebody that's begging on Bourbon Street and somebody that's begging in Vrindavan.
Right, yeah. I wasn't even picturing something like that, but
you just have to be discriminating.
Let me say, in that point, just to add to what she was saying, I was just read where Srila Prabhupada was talking about giving in charity to the Brahmins. And he said, that's not begging. They're not begging. If a Brahmin comes to your house with a load of ask for some milk or two. That's not begging, Prabhupada said. He said, they don't need your money. Krishna could give them everything. So when we go, we're not begging. We could, match any karma penny for penny if we wanted to get out there and go for the gusto. But because they benefit by giving to Krishna. That's why myself personally, if somebody gives me a donation, I give it to the temple. I didn't know what Mother Hagman just said, but now I understand why. Like sometimes somebody who became a friend of ours back in the day, he'll send some money and say, here, Gribuj, I want to give you $100, donations. I take it, I say, okay, and I give it to Jogindra, I just sign it over. I don't get attached to it, understanding that he's thinking I'm a representative of Krishna. So I can take it and, pay my dish bill or something, and it's not going to enhance his spiritual growth. But if I take that money and I give it to the service of Srila Prabhupada, then that soul has benefited tremendously. That's the point. How to help that soul is the point.
I think that it's easy for devotees to become cold-hearted because of these rules and say, well, I don't get, all these rules. I don't want to take birth in somebody's family because they owe me, and it's easy for devotees to become cold-hearted. At the same time, it's easy for devotees to be just sentimental. So it really is it not kind of tricky to, because in the Vedic society, they would take care of everybody, and maybe somebody's a poor Shudra or lower, and they wouldn't just let them starve. They would somehow take care. The king is responsible to take care of everybody. So, I just think we have to be careful to think very deeply and make sure we understand all the levels,
The verse, time, place, and circumstance. Do you have that reference?
Yeah.
It was today's. It was in today's.
So, I think it was a famous picture of a young teenager, 14, 15-year-old, with a sign that said, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. I need $5 donation for my next fix. Yeah. And he was holding it up. Yeah. I've seen somebody in Atlanta, Georgia, in Little 5 Point said, I'm going to be honest. He had a sign, I'm going to be honest. I need $1 for a beer. And people were dropping money.
Because they were already favoring beers too, and they know you need a beer.
Exactly.
if you're that kind of person, they know, they sympathize or something.
And so to that level, but in Vrindavan, there are the widows of Vrindavan that don't have any support. Mm-hmm. And so Prabhupada, knowing what to do and what not to do is what a devotee is, advanced devotee is about. Mm-hmm. They would know what to do and what not to do. So he wouldn't give to the beggar in Vrindavan asking, I need a beady.
I think the danger, the subtle danger that happens, I'm sorry, I just can't resist it, but the subtle danger is that we become callous. Yeah. Because we have some legitimacy in not giving charity for nonsense. Yeah. But at the same time, Prabhupada, demonstrated to us, he was standing talking in Vrindavan to some man, and they were going on and on and on. And devotees came up, Prabhupada, who was that man? Prabhupada, he's just a friend of mine. He's just a friend, It's like, so we're not robotic. We have the ability to discriminate. You see, like I have helped people, just came and your heart feels for them. You can't turn them away. And you go through the whole process and you think, maybe I'm a nonsense, maybe I'm this, but you help them, give them percent, whatever. In the end, they turn around and they become very favorable toward the Vaishnavas. So the whole trick is how to benefit that soul, Mm-hmm. Yeah. You draw the line when it comes to, like my mother used to try to get me to bring her groceries in. If you had meat, I wouldn't bring her groceries in her house. She'd be like, what's wrong with you? I said, I don't carry meat, I'll carry other groceries in. So spiritually, we have this ability to discriminate. That's the point I'm making. We should use our God-given intellect and persona to make a discrimination. That's all. We can't be robotic. Oh, I don't give. And then you see some kid, the kid. But they do in India. They do the whole, leprosy thing to make you. Sometimes they'll rip you off. They're so good at it. So it's a little bit more difficult. That's why we have ISKCON charities. Yeah. Prabhupada established ISKCON charities, and they feed everyone. So we do give. Maybe we just don't give to the person on the street or something.
Yeah, I remember there was a lady in Atlanta who was a street person who liked to come to the temple. She had some sentiment for Krishna consciousness, but she was also addicted to drinking and didn't want to stop. So she lived on the street. And I saw her bagging once. I said, would you like me to get you something to eat? She showed me in her bag. There was all kinds of sandwiches people had given her. A lot of people get the idea. Of course, they don't understand about prasada, but a lot of people have the idea to give food. And she had a bag full of it. That wasn't what she was hoping for. She wanted some money for her next drink, I guess. But at one time, she gave a sad story at the temple, and I fell for it. I gave her $2, and she looked like she did not like that I did that. Because she knew. That she was just by habit given a sad story, and she did not like that I gave her that. so you really use a lot of discrimination sometimes. It's really tricky. I think Hardwani got her hand up. We better go.
Well, I was going to say something else about the babies in India that I recalled is that one year when Mahalakshmi and I went to India, Mother Linda Baker, she made us hundreds of little bit bigger than a good-sized postage stamp pictures of Radha and Krishna and Hanuman and all these different personalities, and laminated them and cut them, and we had these pictures that we would put in people's begging bowls, and they were ecstatic with that because it was really unique, so they were really happy to do that. And then also one year it was Mardi Gras time, so all these Mardi Gras things you can get. We got these little fish, like finger puppets. And so when the kids would come, we'd tell them, Matsya Avatar, and we'd give them one of those finger puppets. And pretty soon we had 50 kids because everybody wanted one. But you can use your imagination a little bit and come up with some that would be Krishna conscious and benefit them without giving money.
I think Kamali and Jesse have their hands up.
I think with all the scriptural things, can be very confusing, but I would say go with your gut and go with your heart, because I've met different people, but I would also be, collecting donations down there. So I would also sometimes have money that people have given, and then sometimes I really, because we're feeding the needy or, helping people, and sometimes I am faced with someone down on the luck, comes up, I just need, $5 more so I can get home, or I just need, there's been different situations, and I'll just give some money, because I just feel like, if I were in the situation that they're in, and I believe them, what would I do? I would ask for money, and I would hope that someone would help. So sometimes you just have to go with maybe.
You just go with your heart and hope that you got this person right, because they also give stories like that. So it's really tricky. But I think Jess.
Let me just say this last thing. I won't say anymore. It's in relation to, and like my mind forgot it twice already. But Prabhupada made a statement when he one time saw the children eating from the refuge time. Prabhupada started crying. He just standing there, tears coming out of his eyes. And then he made a mandate. He said, around the temple, 25.
10 miles. 10-mile radius.
10-mile radius. Around the temple, no one should be hungry. So we should feed within a 10-mile radius like that. So that gives another indication that, we are charitable by nature, but what we do, we give to Sodom mainly, It's one of our big things in that.
Yeah. Jesse.
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate a bit on the point that you made about the Vedic kings, would take care of all of their citizens, and it's especially nowadays we have, it's referred to oftentimes as a disaster economy, or there's such a thing as a disaster economy, which is the economy that pops up whenever a big hurricane hits, or and there's a lot of scam artistry that goes on in these sorts of things. I mean, really the whole issue, for example, I remember with Hurricane Harvey that hit Houston last year. It's just like any other big hurricane or any other big disaster that hits in America. There's a lot of celebrities who get a lot of publicity for making large donations, and there's a big pledge drive and all this stuff. Even like in a mass shooting sort of situation, people have hospital bills, then there's big publicity celebrities who are, and large pledge drives, Kickstarters, and all these things. And it's really, it's horrible. These things have to happen. That the government, it's actually the government's responsibility to take care of its people in these situations, especially in a situation such as Harvey, when it's, basically due to the city planning that the hurricane was so destructive. And, there's people who just lost 30 years of savings for these things. And it is the duty of a righteous government to take care of its citizens. And it just shows how demoniac the current, all around the world, every government in the world is just so poorly led. And anyway, I just wanted to make that comment.
One thing else.
Getting back to devotional service, there are 3 exchanges between devotees, exchanging prashadam, and that's the primary one because it's Krishna, exchanging your individuality, your consciousness, your intelligence, your words, and also giving gifts. So giving gifts is where all the confusion seems to be. As it's been stated that if it's going to elevate the person spiritually, then that gift should be given. Another point about, you were saying that someone's effulgence will be dissipated by not rendering service when required. That's true. Krishna only resides in that place where that emotion, that giving emotion is there. It attracts him. So that effulgence is not coming from the person, it's coming from Krishna's presence.
Or from the soul shining through.
What's that?
The soul shining through the body.
Yes.
And not less covered up. The soul is actually acting in the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal.
Yes, there's a relationship between the individual and Krishna, and Krishna wants to be with that person, and therefore there's an effulgence.
Okay. Well, souls are effulgent too.
Therefore, a pure devotee is called a tirtha because it's Krishna's residence.
Both, yeah. Well, because the soul is actually made of the same as Krishna, so it's also effulgent like Krishna. So both. Yeah.
I lied. There's one last time on site.
3 times, no.
She's counting.
Try, it's like an alcoholic. The point I was going to make is that there's this one charity in Vrindavan called Padma Inc. And they take care of the widows and the children, young girls there, and they feed them and all that. And so they have a thing set up where you can give once a month. They'll just take it out of your money, not PayPal, whatever. It's like $45 a month or something. And so I talked to Veera Krishna Maharaj because you want to help people in Vrindavan, So I was just saying there are bona fide charities like that set up where the devotees are orchestrating it, and also all over India, ISKCON charities. So it's not like we're not charitable. I just wanted to bring that point up about Padma, and it really gladdens my heart.
Yeah. Thank you. As a movement, it's still individuals might be confused and close up because they're afraid of doing it wrong or something. So it's very disgusting. Hi, Dwayne.
I just wanted to say that on the subject of charity, Dewey Buja is a shining example of someone that gives.
He gives to the devotees all the time.
It's all business.
He's the guy they're talking about when they say give the shirt up to that.
It's all karma. Just trying to get karma.
How he gives to devotees and he gives to everyone. He just has such a giving nature, and I really appreciate it.
Trying to get karma. That's all good karma. All business.
No.
People were introduced to Krishna consciousness. I see so many people that like one person is like a motorcycle person. I got kind of a little scared with wanting directions. So I said, and he knows them as Vera one. He goes, hey, I need to get to that shop down the road. Can you tell me how to get there? So you see all sorts of nice people I've met and talked to that they were encouraged to either come to the temple or go buy herbs. And I had this one lady, she was our rural carrier her daughter actually was helping her mom. But to get to the point, she was saying how she knew Bridget because it helped her because she had a problem with anxiety and stress, so she, and other things. So she went to where Bridget's place was and got the herbs, and then she went to where the Picayune Pope's office was and started saying, "Hey, you should go out. You should go locally and go down to where the Bridget is." Like she was like preaching like that, and she would say how wonderful the herbs were and how they worked, and so yeah, I met such a like a variety of
Shows
people
you.
that were.
It all shows you how Srila Prabhupada takes someone. I had nothing growing up at the farm. Matter of fact, one time they had a play going on. I was in the 3rd grade, and they came and they would ask people for props to use on stage. And the teacher said, "Don't listen to Daryl if he raises his hand. He always says he has something. He never has nothing." So I got the whole class. I was so busted for him. I felt, oh my God. So we were so dirt poor, you know. So Srila Prabhupada, give whatever we've got, it's of course it's by His mercy. So by nature, someone like Prabhupada points out, someone who's very poor, they want to help others. It's just the nature of it.
Somebody else we should mention here who used the business to give a lot, and business did go out of business because of business reasons. But too much competition. Everybody got the idea to imitate him and do Gypsy Market, and he turned it into a preaching center.
Yeah.
And he gave people Krishna consciousness all day long, every time he got a chance. So, when people came and they got prasadam.
What kind of prasad did you serve?
Well, we had Bhagavad Gita
made the
class
prasad.
every Monday night for like 4 or 5 years, and we evolved what we gave, and we got to where we gave Gitri and halva. And so, we started with like dried fruit and nuts, and evolved. But he would spend all week inviting people, and so I talked about he would give a stick of incense per day. They had a feeling of giving, and even that mundane feeling of giving, because it's natural to a soul to give, and for a soul to be given to is like, so it feels so good, even though it's a stick of incense, and he did it kind of for business, but then he used that to invite people to Bhagavad Gita class, and that was like his focus all week. He was inviting people to Bhagavad Gita class. We had all kinds of people coming and give him a chant Hare Krishna and pronounce the verse and everything, and a lot of people really had fun. And some
You're in
people
good
really
company.
enjoyed it.
You're in good company because Srila Prabhupada did the same thing.
Yeah.
So
That's where we got the idea, I guess.
he used all his money from the chemical business, from his Ayurvedic.
Oh, okay. Oh, before he came, yeah.
Yeah, he would always use all his money. His family was always, where's the money? Where's Prabhupada was always printing books. Anyway, I'm sorry.
So, anything else?
It's a story, can I relate another story about who I feel has given a lot of charity in terms of prasad, and that Mother Maharani. And I'll give you a little bit of an instance of how Krishna reciprocates. There was this one, I was trying to go to this place to pick up my granddaughter. I kind of got lost. So I went into this store. And inside the store, the lady was very kind, and she gave me the directions how to get to this place in the middle. And then Krishna said, "Well, that was kind of her. Now go give her one." And one of these cards, they tell you where you can go to the feast. They went back, and I said, "Oh, here, if you like, you can come to our, we have a free vegetarian feast every Sunday. We're doing that nice kind of thing. You can have it." She said, "Oh, yeah, I've been to something like what you're talking about, because it was called Good Karma." I said, "Yeah, my friend Mara, she cooks so much else." She said, "Oh, it was so wonderful." I said, "Yeah, you can see how Krishna reciprocates. They first they go to the Good Karma, and then they get the opportunity to come to the temple here, and then they meet such nice devotees.
Yeah, business is a practical thing. It looks like you're giving a fair exchange, but then sometimes people don't know what's really being given for free beyond that fair exchange. You hide it in the business. Anything else?
Wonderful
Thank
class.
you. Thank you. That's
Wonderful
because
class.
everybody else gave the class.
Very nice.
Right.
Thank you all for your participation.